So, hello, I'm really sorry. Chaos abound here today. The light is all over the place. I've just jumped off a coaching call. Yevgeny isn't here. He's on vacation, so I'm all alone and it's chaos. So, can I just check that you can actually hear me? So, oh, hi, Jonathan. I assume you can hear me, Jonathan. Just say, yeah, Gigi, I can hear you, or something like that. And whilst you're doing that, I'm going to try and sort out the light in here, which is just shocking. All right, let's close my blind. As you can see, I'm not dressed in my branded gear either, but you'll all forgive me, won't you, as you're staring at my stomach. Hang on, closing my blinds. Okay, that's a bit better. Great. Good. Okay, you can hear me. The light is just shocking. Oh, now it's pitch black in here. Now I'm going to have to turn on my backlight. How ridiculous to have to close your blinds and then turn on a backlight. Hang on a second. This is all very professional, obviously. You'll can appreciate my professionalism here. This is what happens when Yevgeny goes on vacation. It all goes to hell, right? Oh, that'll have to do. That'll have to do. Please forgive me if the lighting is a little bit shocking. Right. So, hello, everybody. Happy August. Today is the 1st of August. It's unbelievable. I'm just back from my vacation holiday that we call it here in the UK, which was very amusing because I thought it started a week later than it actually did until I got an email from the place where I was staying to say, oh, we're looking forward to seeing you tomorrow. I was like, oh my God. So my life has been a little bit chaotic for the past week and a half, but I will try and calm down. So, introductions. In case you don't know me, I am Gigi and I am an ex-Amazonian, ex-bar raiser, and the founder of Day One Careers alongside my gorgeous business partner, Yevgeny. Both of us ex-Amazonians met after we had left Amazon, but whilst we were both at Amazon, not knowing each other even existed, even though we were on, I think I was sat one floor above him. We're part of the whole interview process. I was a bar raiser, he was a hiring manager and interviewer. And what we recognized, both of us independently, was you could really tell the different candidates who had really kind of specific coaching from expert Amazonians and those that hadn't. They knew what they were talking about. They obviously understood the leadership principles. They knew how to structure a narrative, etc., etc. So in our own little ways, we both tried to make a little bit of a difference to those candidates. I created a YouTube channel and started out giving out tons of free advice. Yevgeny started doing kind of coaching in the moment for his first round candidates and then did a naughty thing and passed them through to the second round to try and give them another chance. I'm not allowed to do that, but he did. So there we go. Both of us left Amazon. He went on to work at Apple. I went on to start a little business, the Amazon Interview Wiz, providing coaching for candidates. We met sometime after that and created Day One Careers. We provide digital coaching courses and kind of affordable, lots and lots of deep coaching for anyone who is going for an Amazon interview. We have this YouTube channel. We have an extensive blog. We have a Discord community that you can get to if you take out one of our free courses. Over 2,000 Amazon candidates there who help each other out, answer questions with it, etc. And of course, we offer these live sessions on YouTube. How this works, super, super simple. You can ask your questions here on the right-hand side. I'll work through them. It'll be a little bit slower today than it usually is because usually Yevgeny and I tag team and basically answer them. Just a couple of provisos there. The first being, please don't ask really generic questions. Hi, Gigi, I've got an interview tomorrow. Any advice? Because, of course, I do have advice. We have 186 videos on the YouTube channel of advice. So that will be my answer if you ask me anything generic. On the other end of the spectrum, there are something along the lines of, I think, 10,000-ish different technical job families in Amazon. So if you have a very specific question about what technically you might be asked for your technical function in your interview, again, because it's that specific and because there are, I say, over 10,000 different job families, I'm probably not going to be able to answer that level of information. I know a lot about the Amazon interview process and the behavioral interviewing, but when it comes to the technical, obviously that's very, very use case specific. So if you have very specific question in that vein, possibility is I'm not going to be able to answer it. Please do stay till the end. I was just trying to think of all of the things that we say between the two of us. Please do stay until the end. There is an absolutely amazing giveaway. Sorry, I put my ticker tape on there. Absolutely amazing giveaway that you are not going to want to miss. So please do stay to the end and I will give you that. Okay, so I think we are ready to go. It's the summer and lots of people are on vacation. It's all quite quiet. So I think it might be a bit of a bijou group of people here today. So we might not run for the full hour, but let's see how we get on and yeah, play it by ear. So I'm just going to scroll down, say hi to people along the way, and then pick a question. Okay, so Erin, unfortunately, you've asked me a very generic question, which I have no answer for. So sorry, Erin, I'm going to jump your question because it's just too generic. I'm going to say hi to Jonathan, hey to Terence, Jay, hello. Frank, hey, welcome, Frank. Oh, thank you. A grateful heart. That makes me feel better. I hate feeling unprofessional, being sympathetic about my lighting issues. Sarah, hello. Right, what else have we got? Starlin, I shower you with my blessings. Absolutely shower with you. A lovely big rain shower. That's coming down on you right now. Okay. Oh, okay. Here we go. A grateful hearth. Oh, that's so cute. I'm just gonna see if I can just, oh my goodness, my camera is on fire. Oh, I didn't realize it's been heated from the back, from the sun on my window. It's absolutely on fire. Okay. Okay, when you it through Recruiter, not quite sure what that means, but when you get through the Recruiter, maybe hiring manager, and you are at loop, does an internal email from a supporter or a former colleague matter at all as a data point on the high judgment, high decision? In theory, not really. In theory, the only evidence that they are supposed to use to make a decision on you is data gathered at the actual interview itself. However, if you do have someone who has worked with you before, and if they have, I would have hoped that you'd use them for a referral, which would have been ideal. But if they weren't your referrer, just get them to send the email. It's not going to do any harm, is it? If the hiring manager reads it and goes, yeah, so what? You've lost nothing, have you? So my advice would be ask them to send it. Nothing to lose. May not help, but it's unlikely to cause any harm whatsoever. I hope that helps. What else do we have? Ignacio. Hello. Hola. From Mexico. So you'd like to reach out to someone to practice interviews for Amazon. So stay until the end. You can take the free course that we offer for the Day One Careers team. That will then give you access to our Discord community. And as I say, there are 2,000 odd other candidates, 2,000 other Amazon candidates on that Discord community. They all meet up, they all do mock interviews with each other. So I think that will help you and that will be what you're looking for. So stay until the end, Ignacio, and you will be able to find people to do mock interviews with. Let's see, what else do we have? Oh, Frank. So you used our YouTube content and our products. So I assume a Day One Careers candidate. You made it to panel. Oh my goodness. Fingers crossed for you, Frank, just to make you feel good about yourself, because it's always nice to make people feel good about themselves. I estimate, and it is only an estimate based on a little bit of finger in the air and my experience, that only about 15% of candidates make it through to the final panel round. So you've already done incredibly just to get to panel. Fingers crossed you'll make it through panel, but you've already done incredibly so far. So I hope that makes you feel good about yourself, Frank. Let's move on. Okay, yeah. Gosh, the light is dreadful. Never mind. Jonathan, hello, Jonathan. I love your specs, Jonathan. They're very cool. I'm a big spec wearer, so I always like to look at other people's choices. During the first interview, you had a story to share based on the question asked. Good. Can you reuse that story when you have your panel interview? Okay, so we get this question a lot. There are very differing opinions inside Amazon in terms of how people feel about stories being reused. Some people don't mind it, some people don't mind maybe one, and some people don't like it at all. So, what we try and do is give what we call conservative advice, which is this: if you can avoid reusing stories, avoid it. That said, many people can't avoid reusing stories. And therefore, if you are going to reuse the same story, try and make sure that you use it for a very different leadership principle. Now, what I mean by when I say a very different leadership principle, and this is a little bit of a nuance that I think I picked up really just well, I had a coaching session literally just before I jumped on here, and I was trying to explain this to that candidate. There are some leadership principles that are a little bit similar. So think about customer obsession and earn trust. You know, in some respects, they sit quite closely together in terms of the types of behaviors that Amazon is looking for you to demonstrate in those two things. So if you tell the same story and you use it for both customer obsession and earn trust, it's inevitably going to sound like quite a similar story. However, if you think about leadership principles like dive deep and let's say customer obsession, the behaviors that the interviewer is looking for you to describe in those two different leadership principles are very, very different. So if you use the same story, but in the one instance, use it to speak all about your customer and how you got feedback from them and how you really tried to understand what they were looking for and how you went above and beyond and how you were trying to thrill them. And then in the other instance, you use it for dive deep in terms of following the clues of the information to try and get to the source of the issue. They're going to sound like very different stories, even though the context itself might be common. So that's our advice. If you can avoid it, please try and avoid it if you can. If you can't and you need to use the same story, try and use it for very different leadership principles, because that way the story will sound like it's quite a different story taken from a very different angle. I hope that helped, Jonathan. Good luck. Okay, moving on then. Moving on. I spent so long doing these by myself. I got very used to it. And now, having had Yevgeny as my partner, I feel a little bit lost, exposed. Oh gosh, the light's shocking. I'm not even sure I'm going to keep this on YouTube, but here we go. We'll keep going. Oh, so Macius, hello. So you want to know about the writing structure. There is a really good video. Lean forward as well. It's a bit more light there. There's a really good video on the YouTube channel about the writing sample. So instead of going into it in detail here, I'm just going to direct you to that video on the writing sample. Lots of tips there about how to structure your example, the types of language to use, about being specific in terms of your data points, all of that. Please do head to that video on the YouTube channel and you will find it very instructive. Okay, moving on then. Oh, wow. Hey, Logan. Yeah, that would be Logan, wouldn't it? Hey, so you succeeded at panel, you got an offer and signed your contract, but you didn't get the background check later. Does it come later? Is it mandatory? Yeah, they will definitely do a background check. That's just kind of the norm. In terms of, it will differ country to country in terms of what exactly they look for, but things like they'll want to make sure that you don't have a criminal record unless you have declared a criminal record on your application, that if you claim to have a particular qualification, if you said in your resume that you had a bachelor's degree, they'll check and make sure that you do actually have a bachelor's degree. If you said you worked for certain employers, they will double check that you did actually work for those employers and the dates of your employment. Those types of basic checks will definitely be done before you are deemed, to have been an accepted employee. But I'm hoping you didn't do anything naughty and didn't tell any porky pies, which is Cockney rhyming slang for lies, and you should be grand. So congratulations on getting an offer and making it through panel. Again, very old data point for you here, Logan, but hopefully this will make you feel good about yourself. Last data point I heard of was that only 1% of people who apply, so obviously that's a very, very big funnel coming in at the top, but 1% of people who apply to Amazon actually get hired. So you have done amazingly. Amazing. Right, let's see what else we have. Okay. Hey, Sarah. So you have a loop on Wednesday for an EA. Awesome. Love EAs. Never underestimate the power and the influence of an EA. All of you out here, here is one of my biggest pieces of career advice, which is be nice to the EAs. Make friends with the EAs because they are incredibly influential, right? They are powerful people. So Sarah, I hope people buy you lots of treats and Christmas gifts and coffees and things like that, because if they don't, then they're not smart. Okay. They mentioned 10 LPs are important, but didn't say which ones. Do I have any insight into ones which I think you should focus on? So I can give you some insight into ones I think you definitely don't need to focus on. And that will be frugality, strive to be Earth's best employer, and success and scale bring broad responsibility. Very few people are tested on those, and particularly I would say that they're not really relevant for an EA. So that takes you down to 13. So you need to find another 3 to eliminate. I'm not going to guesstimate what those 3 are, because even though there are job families and there are trends of leadership principles within job families, nonetheless, each role is different, each hiring manager is different, and what they're looking for is different. So my suggestion to you, Sarah, is to go back to the YouTube channel. I am going to say this quite a lot in this session. I'm sorry, people, but there's so much content on the YouTube channel already. Almost any answer I give you, I've already put on the YouTube channel. Go back to the YouTube channel, Sarah. There is a playlist. I think it's a job description deep dive is what the playlist is called. There are 2 videos on that playlist, and basically it shows me being given people's job descriptions live on my Q&A session and opening them up and going through them line by line by line and connecting the language of the job description to the leadership principle. I suggest you watch both of those because I think it will give you a really strong kind of guide and sense on how to deconstruct your own job description. We do offer it as an independent service at Day One Careers. I think there's a link to the service in the actual details of the video, but please do view the video first and have a go at it yourself first. You'd be amazed how useful that video is. Good luck, Sarah, and everybody else. Remember, EAs are powerful people. Be nice to them. Okay. Oh, Mega, you're so tired by creating stories for each LP. I know it is hard work. There's no question that the Amazon interview process is a massive commitment. But what you do need to think about is once you've done it once, most other companies do behavioral interviewing. Right? That is becoming the norm, big companies, small companies. So once you do it, you have it there for yourself in perpetuity. And then any other interviews that you do moving forward, you just go and pull that stuff out and refresh yourself. So think about it as paying it forward for your future self. I like to think about my past self and my current self and my future self. So think about your current self as creating a whole lot of information and useful tools for your future self. And then when your future self arrives, you can thank your past self. My kids always get very confused when I talk about past self, present self, and future self because you have to swap between them. It's very confusing. All right. Good luck, though. And I'm sorry it's such a strike. It is hard work. It is a commitment. Okay. Oh, yeah. Hey, George. So you've been through the loop for a network development engineer. Nice. I've done lots of mocks for network development engineers in Ireland. Very nice. I used to live in Ireland. I'm married to an Irishman. So you received a mail from your recruiter asking for comp, not much info to answer, any place to look for. Right. So if you were in the US, the answer to this question would be super easy because the US is incredibly well served for this type of information. Once you're out of the US, unfortunately, quite frankly, it sucks. So my best tips for you are Glassdoor, which I'm not a fan of, and no one's really a fan of Glassdoor, but it might give you some sense of the extremes that are viable. The second thing you might want to do is just look for other jobs, quite honestly. Although Amazon doesn't advertise their compensation ranges, some companies do. So just, do a bit of a search for UK and Ireland, where, quite frankly, compensation isn't that different. Once you get onto continental Europe, it becomes very different. But between UK and Ireland, just bear in mind the exchange rate, of course. Look for other jobs and have a look and see what salary ranges they're advertising. And then the third one is use teamblind.com, which is basically it's a bit of a social platform. It tends to be a little bit more tech focused. So as a network development engineer, it might be you might get good representation in terms of your job family there. But again, like most social network platforms, it has a very strong bias towards the US. So you might get some salary ranges for the US, but again, you're in Ireland, so it's not going to be exact like for like. But I know it's really, really difficult for us Europeans, people in the US who are blessed with things like levels.fyi, payscale.com. Once you're out the US and you're in Europe, I'm afraid it's a bit more scarce pickings. The one final strategy that we have to offer you that's a bit of a left field one, but actually seems to work sometimes, is we find that some of our candidates reaching out to people on LinkedIn with the same job title as them in the location that they are interviewing for, and asking them not to tell them how much do you earn, but rather, can you give me a sense of the range for that particular job family or location? And wouldn't want to quote probability of success, but we have had some candidates who have had some success in getting information that way. So those, I'm afraid, are my best tips for you, although I'm sorry they're not as good as I wish I could give you. Okay, and if my final tip for you is, if you go to Ireland, chocolate Kimberley. You have to try chocolate Kimberley. Without question, the best thing to come out of Ireland, and I am including my husband in that list. Chocolate Kimberley comes first. All right, so next question then. Oops, this thing keeps jumping as well. So I'm sorry about that. I'll just try and get control of it again. Oh, another winner chicken dinner. Ankush, hello. So you made it to a senior PM. So I'm not sure if that's a program manager or product manager, but either way, it doesn't matter. Congratulations. Yay! The crowd goes wild. Congratulations. I'm absolutely delighted for you, and I hope it is the start of an amazing career. Okay. Oh, Stalin asked you whether it was a product manager or a PM. Okay, let's keep going. There's an interesting question. Is the loop harder than working at Amazon? It seems a very intimidating process. Is it harder? I wish Yevgeny was here, because we could have an interesting, somewhat esoteric conversation about this. So obviously it's going to depend on how you define hard. But do you get inside and suddenly everything is really so much easier, and you don't have to work so hard, and you don't have to learn as much, and you don't have to put in as much focus, and you don't have to put in as much preparation? No. I actually feel personally, and of course I can only speak to my personal experience, which is why it would have been good to have Yevgeny here. My personal experience is that the interview process is pretty illustrative of working inside Amazon. In terms of the rigor, the process, the specificity, the bar, and just how good you need to be and how thorough you need to be. I think it's pretty representative, actually, of working at Amazon. The need to self-serve and go and learn for yourself rather than having it spoon-fed to you. All of that is very reflective of Amazon. If you like the interview process, which I did, I really enjoyed my interview experience at Amazon. I've spoken to a number of Amazonians who have also talked about how much they enjoyed their interview process. If you enjoyed the interview process, you will really enjoy working at Amazon. I don't know that I can say if you hated the interview process, you'll hate working at Amazon, because that seems a little bit extreme. And I can't speak to having ever spoken to anyone who said I hated my interview and I hated Amazon. So I can't really draw that conclusion. But I guess high level, I think it's pretty representative of what it takes to be an Amazonian. And of course it is, because that's what they're testing for, really, isn't it? They're trying to test, would you be a good Amazonian, both in terms of testing the process and also testing the behaviors and the technical skills. So it kind of makes sense that it would be like for like. I hope that helps and wasn't too vague an answer for you. Okay. What else do we have? Oh, Diego. Oh, this is another one where I wish Yevgeny was here. But okay. Um, you have your loop next week for an LV L7. LV. Don't know what an LV is. I would usually go learning, but V doesn't fit. And a V would usually be vendor manager. So maybe quickly type, Diego, now I'm curious what an LV is, but that doesn't stop me from answering the question. L7, pretty senior role. I was an L7. What were my best 3 advice I can give you? All right. And you're at loop. So complexity. You're an L7. You need big stories, right? Big, complex stories, lots of things going on. L7s are very senior roles in Amazon. If in most other companies, it's kind of a director level role. So if you want to be considered bar raising better than half of the existing L7 population in Amazon, you're going to have need to have some stories that are really quite complicated, with lots at stake, lots of different things going on. So that's my first piece of advice. My second piece of advice is impact. So, and by the way, this advice is true for everyone, not just for L7, but particularly for L7 because it's such a senior role. You need to demonstrate that you have had a material impact on the business that you work for. So whatever the output metrics are for your particular role, which I wasn't sure what it was, I'm just going to jump down there and see if you've written it. Oh no, you've just said L7 rather than. Oh, I see. The V was a typo. How funny. Okay. Oh, principal product manager. Tech product manager. Okay. Awesome. Awesome. So you should have some really good metrics about usage, revenue generation, depending on what type of product that you're managing, etc. But you need to be able to demonstrate material impact. So make sure that when you're telling your narratives, that you not only talk about what you actually delivered in terms of your output metrics, but reference it against the baseline and against the norm, because the number that you present inevitably, because of the size and the scale of Amazon, is not going to look big if compared to what those individual interviewers experience on their everyday basis. Most people can't compete in terms of the actual scale of the numbers that you can talk about at Amazon. So you're going to need to baseline that against the standard within your own company in order for your interviewer to appreciate how far above the kind of baseline standard you were able to deliver for your organization. That's tip number 2. Again, I would give that tip to anybody. And then the third tip, which again is a tip that I would give to anybody, is practice, 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 practice. I know you don't want to make it sound like it's overly rehearsed, and lots of people are concerned about that, but in order to get you comfortable that you are going to hit the key points that you want to make sure that you hit when you land your story, you need to practice. You need to be able to really easily recall the key points that you want to land and the key data points that you want to land. So again, if you want to hang on until the end, Diego, take our free course, and then that will give you access to our Discord community, and you can practice to your heart's content with all of the other candidates that are there on the Discord community. I hope that helps. Let me just pop you back in. All right. Hey, Terence. So you failed your first interview, manager L6. Then you interviewed for an L5. Oh, you got through to loop, but the job was closed. Now you're interviewing for another L6. Oh, you got through loop, not through to loop. So you got inclined for an L5, but the job closed. Okay. Now you're interviewing for another L6. Will an L5 pass help the current interview? I think the L5 pass would have helped you get to the interview as an L6, but it's not going to help someone decide whether you're raising the bar at L6, if that makes sense. So the L5 got you the L6 interview in the first place. Your performance in the L6 interview will get you or not get you the job. Hope that helps. Fingers crossed. Good luck. Okay, yeah, cool. Santish, hello. So you had a loop for L7 sales, didn't get through. You were told that you are an Amazonian and can apply to other opportunities. What does this mean? Such a good question. And oh God, some recruiters are so bad at explaining to people what they mean. So I will make an attempt to explain to you what I think your recruiter meant. Now, obviously, I'm not your recruiter, so I don't know for sure, but I'm pretty confident when I tell you that what they're saying to you is that they see lots of traits in you that suggest that you are potentially going to be a strong Amazonian. But for whatever reason, they did not think you were raising the bar at L7 for this role. Either you're not a functional fit, i.e., they don't think you've got the technical skills to do the job, or maybe on the day where they really wanted to see high strengths on particular leadership principles, you just didn't demonstrate them on the day. But their general feeling is that you could potentially, at a future time in a different role, be considered bar raising. So what they're saying to you is don't give up, keep applying for different roles, and then maybe one day you'll hit the jackpot. That's what it means. I hope that makes sense. But I think sometimes the recruiters, because they're not specific enough with what they mean, candidates get confused and they think that they've got an inclined and that they're not going to have to interview again and blah, 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 blah. It's not what it means. It just basically means that they think that you shouldn't give up and you should give it another go, basically. Hope that helped. Moving on then. Jatan, I think I answered your question already when I was giving Diego his best 3 tips. So hopefully I've covered that off for you already. Hey, Marlene. It's a shame Evgeny isn't here, although maybe it's not, because we would say very different things in answer to this question. So I'm going to give you my perspective on it anyway. So final interview, you've got your interview with AWS tomorrow with the hiring manager. Okay, so this is either phone screen 1 or phone screen 2 by the look of it. Independent software vendor role, interesting. 60-minute interview. Okay. What should you do last minute to be prepared? So relax, I think, really. If you haven't done it, if you're not prepared by now it really is dark. If you're not prepared by now, I'm not sure there's a huge amount that you can do in the last 24 hours. So Yevgeny will tell you to meditate. I won't tell you to medicate. Yevgeny will tell you to meditate. I wouldn't tell you to meditate because I don't meditate. I might tell you to medicate because I'm much more likely to medicate than I am to meditate. But whatever it is that works for you in terms of centering yourself, bringing confidence to yourself, that's what you've got to do. It might be worth, if hopefully you've written up maybe some just brief notes to keep you on track. Just make sure that you can comfortably look at those and just recall, broadly speaking, what you're going to be speaking around when it comes to those individual notes. But in 24 hours, there's not a huge amount more you can do. You just need to get yourself into the right frame of mind for the interview. So I would focus on whatever you usually do before exams or something like that to get yourself in the right frame of mind. That's what you need to do. Yevgeny will meditate. I will medicate. or dance around my living room to very loud music. Either of those would work for him or I. Whatever it is that works for you is what you should probably be doing in the next 24 hours. I hope that helped. Okay, moving on. Okay. Oh, gosh, Diego, this is such an interesting question. All right, so let's go for this one. What's the difference between a product manager, a program manager, and a project manager? The main difference is the person who's written the job description, in truth. Because although if you Google it, and I've been brought down a peg or two by people telling me the absolute true definition of these things and how they're different, the absolute true definition of these things and how they're different is not what's applied in Amazon. Right? So people inside Amazon will use program manager and project manager quite interchangeably. Excuse me, I think I'm going to sneeze. I hate it when that happens. I might quickly go on mute. I managed to get to the mute button on time. Woo! So there's a very clear distinction between product and the other two. So a product manager is someone who has a specific product that they are responsible for. So I'm looking around my office, and I could be the product manager for this bottle. Therefore, I am responsible for everything to do with this bottle, what shape it is, what plastics we use, what color it is, what lid we use, what markings we put on the bottom, how we produce it, where we source our materials from, what we price it as. I am the product manager. If I was a program manager and I wanted to keep this kind of bottle in the narrative, what I might be responsible for is our program of work at Amazon for hydrating devices. So it's where there might be multiple elements to a program. So as a program manager for hydrating devices in Amazon, I might work with a product manager for this bottle. I might work with a product manager for this cup. Wasn't I lucky? I had a cup and a bottle in the room with me. I might also be working with the product manager for this bottle here. I clearly keep myself really hydrated, but forget to take the receptacles out at the end of the day. You're responsible for something that is a much bigger scope than the one single program, a bigger scope than the one single product. Project manager and program manager, I think, are much more interchangeably used, because if you're a program manager, you're equally likely to be responsible for a project, which might be a summer campaign for hydrating devices or hydrating receptacles, whatever it was I called them. So I hope that helps. I know it's a little bit fluffy and vague, and if you go onto, say, Google, there are very, very clear distinctions between all of them. But actually, in terms of Amazon, program manager and project manager do actually get quite mixed up depending on what just the nomenclature that the hiring manager prefers to use. The detail actually is in the job description. If you take two different job descriptions for project manager, you probably need 10, to be honest with you, between program manager and project manager, then you'll start to see the difference in the scope and the actual detail of the job description. I hope that helps. Don't know how amusing that was for you all. Okay. Let's see, what else do we have here? Oh gosh, we've gone past the halfway point. Right. So usually about 15 minutes ago, I would have stopped and said this, but I'm going to stop and say it now. So as you well know, we put an enormous amount of work into this channel with all of the free content that we produce. And in return, I need to ask you a favor. So in order for my content, our content to surface, it needs positive signals to feed into the algorithm. Positive signals to feed into the algorithm are either kind of the thumbs up that you can put at the bottom of the video or comments that you can put at the bottom of the video. That tells the YouTube algorithm that it has surfaced the content to, number one, the right person, and number two, that that person actually likes the content. The more positive signals, the more likely you are to rank. Now, one of the problems with the YouTube algorithm is it has a bias towards tenure, because the more likes something has and the more comments it has, the higher it ranks. Well, the longer something's been around, naturally, the more likes it will accrue and the more comments it will accrue. So there's a whole bunch of content that appears before us because of the YouTube algorithm that's old, rubbish, written by people that don't know what they're talking about, etc., etc. So for this content to surface, I need your support. So please, whenever you're watching either this live session or any of the videos on the Day One Careers YouTube channel, please take a couple of seconds just to give it that thumbs up or drop us a little comment. My little kind of request in terms of a favor back from you in return for what we do for you. Could you, going to ask you if you could please do it just ever briefly for this particular session. And whilst you do that, I'm going to play a little video to probably entertain myself more than entertain you, but nonetheless, going to do this video and then you can just give us a little thumbs up in that moment. Okay, going for it now. Live to stream. Live to stream. Live to stream. There we go. So I hope you enjoyed that, and probably you didn't enjoy watching it quite as much as I enjoyed making it, but that's another story entirely. Okay, let's get back to the questions. We've got about 15 minutes left, and we do have plenty of questions. And oh my goodness, I have just spotted Lego my ego. Hello, sweetie. It's so good to see you again. One day I would love to meet all these people in the real world. Lots of people follow me over a really long period of time. You get to know, obviously, their YouTube logins, but what their real names are quite often I don't know, but they become like kind of extended friends. So it's lovely to see you again, Lego my ego. Welcome back. Okay. Yes, Jonathan. Do I have any advice for general questions to ask when the interviewer asks you, do you have any questions? I do. And I'm going to tell you, I have a really good video and I'm actually really, really proud of this video. I'm proud of most of my videos. Some of my old ones are a bit rubbish. I have to be more than rubbish, but the content is good. But the kind of my setup at the time wasn't so good. My audio isn't so good. But this one, I'm really, really proud of on the YouTube channel. There is a video there that gives you all sorts of different ideas about what questions you can ask. Basically, I've structured the concept around you need to be thinking about who are you talking to, because you're going to need to, and you should be asking very different questions depending on who it is that's actually asking you whether you have any questions. So if you're talking to the hiring manager and the hiring manager says, do you have any questions? Well, you're going to want to ask the questions that you would want to ask of the person that effectively you're going to be working for. So, you might want to ask them about their management style. You might want to ask them what their favorite leadership principle is, because that's very, very directional around a person's management style. You might want to ask them whether they have plans to expand their team. You might want to ask them where they think their team has development areas. You might want to ask different questions of someone who's going to be a peer. So you might be asking them about work-life balance, or you might be asking them about how well they collaborate together as a team and how much they depend on their line manager to drive collaboration versus being able to do it organically between themselves. Lots of different potential questions you can ask, but be very clear about who you are talking to, because you're going to want to ask them different types of questions. Do go check out that video. I've got a huge list of great questions, some that I came up with myself and others which people asked me when I was interviewing them, and I thought they were fantastic, so I stole them. So go check out that video. I think it will be really helpful for you. Okay, so just a reminder, folks, still people kind of asking me generic questions. I am having an interview tomorrow for for something or other. Any tips? Yes, the whole YouTube channel, 186 videos of tips of what you should do. And most of them, 96% of the videos apply to everybody. So all of my tips are on the YouTube channel. Go check them out if you're just looking for general feedback and advice. Okay. Okay. So this is the flip side of the question that we had a little bit earlier. So we've got Jabberwocky. You did an on-site for an L4 security engineer. Cool. You were able to use different stories for all but one. Do you think this will severely hinder me? Absolutely not. And actually, as an L4, if you only made one repeat as an L4, I would be quite impressed as an interviewer. The reason being, the more senior role that you're going for, or ergo, kind of the more experience you have, it's just the two have a correlation. And therefore, as someone gets more senior, you expect to see more unique examples because they've just been out there in the world with a longer career history. The more junior people, they haven't had much experience in terms of professional experience, and therefore you kind of expect that they will have to repeat examples quite a lot. And their examples tend to be shorter because they're more less complex because they're more junior. So if you only had to repeat once as an L4, I think that's a brilliant job done. So fingers crossed. I'd be impressed if I was your interviewer and you only repeated one. Okay. Oh, yeah, this is tough. Hey, James. This is quite a common problem, particularly for certain role types where they don't necessarily get a dedicated recruiter and the recruitment kind of process is broken up. So for some job families, it's a full life cycle recruiter and they do all of the sourcing all the way through to closing everything off in terms of background checks and compensation. Other teams, you have a sourcer who then hands over to the recruitment coordinator, who then hands over to the recruiter at the very final stage of loop. So it may not be, James, that you actually have a specific singular recruiter. If you have questions, then my suggestion would be email anybody, quite frankly, who has had a dialogue with you. So if you've spoken to the RC recruitment coordinator and you've only spoken to them, ask them your question. If they can't answer your question, I would hope that they would be able to tell you who could answer your question. And if they don't tell you who could answer your question, you should ask them who can answer my question. So although I'm sorry it's not kind of a silver bullet answer as to tell you this is how you found out who your recruiter is, because you may not actually have your own dedicated recruiter, my advice is if you have questions, just ask the people who you are in communication with. Might not be able to answer it for you, but I'm hoping they can point you in the direction of somebody who can. Hope that helps. Okay. Hey, Neil. What's the best format for writing assessment? I'm not sure what you mean by format exactly, but a Word document, Calabri 10. Not that anyone really cares what font you write in, but because almost all Amazon documents are written in Calabri 10, they're used to reading Calabri 10. So I would say in Word, Calabri 10. I tend to recommend that structurally, and you'll find this in the video on the writing assessment, that people should probably loosely follow the STAR format when it comes to the actual writing assessment. The most simple reason being that the question that you're asked in the writing assessment is actually from the Amazon interview question bank, and someone could just as easily ask you that specific question in the interview. And if they did, the Amazon advice would be for you to respond to it using the STAR format. So if they're going to ask you to respond to the question in written form and ask you to respond or ask you to respond to the question in verbal form, stands to reason you may as well use the same structure in both of those scenarios. So I hope that helps. I would loosely follow STAR in Word, Calabri 10. Hope that helps. Oh, hey, Shaky9T. So you recently got your job at Amazon as an instructional designer. So that's like a learning and development role, I think, instructional designer. And my videos are very helpful. Well, congratulations. I am absolutely delighted for you. Okay, we have 8 minutes left. Excuse me sniffing. My hay fever has just decided to appear. I tend to get hay fever late in the evenings. I don't know why. I must be allergic to something that comes out late at night or early evening. God, that could go in all sorts of directions, that one. Okay. Okay. Yevgeny will be sorry he missed this. He loves the salary negotiation conversation. So well done. You made it through loop, used our content. Woohoo! Down level to an L4. Okay. You've got 5 years of experience. Okay. You have preferred certifications per the job description, relevant work experience. How do you negotiate your offer? So how many years experience you have and whether you have the preferred certifications on the job description, relevant work experience is a little bit irrelevant when it comes to your salary negotiation. Those things got you to your interview, and your interview performance got you the job offer at an L4 level, right? that's all kind of used up. So then when it comes to how do you negotiate your offer, it boils down to what is a fair market value for your skills, right? So you need to make sure, hopefully you're in the US and not in Europe, per my conversation earlier around Ireland. You need to go and find out what the kind of market value is for your particular role. You have to be clear in your own mind what number you will accept and what number you will walk away if they won't reach for you. When the offer comes in, we always recommend to not negotiate verbally. You're much more in control of your own words and your own thinking processes if you negotiate via email. So our tip would be, accept, when they give you the offer, thank you very much. Would like to spend a little bit of time thinking about it and, taking a view of how I feel about this. Hang up the phone if it was verbally. If it was via email them back and just say that you want 48 hours. Reflect on the offer, decide what it is that you want. If it's not near what you want, then you need to think about what leverage you actually have. So if you've got any feedback from your recruiter about the strength of your performance, if they said to you, they think you'd be an amazing L4, you're super strong L4, but you didn't quite make it from an L5 perspective, well, then you've got some great feedback. I was a super strong L4, in which case I would hope that you would be offering me at the top end of the band. If you have any other job competing offers, that's worth bringing to the table for your negotiation. If you are maybe in line for a promotion in your current company, then that's also something that you can leverage to negotiate. But you just need to think about all of the different possible levers that you have to work in your favor when you then go back with your counter offer. Essentially, once you have a number, if they can get you to that number, then that's really where you want to be able to say to them, this is my number. Get me to this number and I will say yes. But in terms of these other data points, they're not negotiable data points when it comes to the actual offer itself. Those were things that got you to the interview. Hope that makes sense. Wishing you the very best of luck. Okay, quick one here then for you in the last 5 minutes or so. Amar, hello. I hope I said that right. How do you find out what job level you're interviewing for? The job description doesn't specify, it never does. Okay, so for some roles, it's really easy. For some roles, it's really hard. So there is a standard nomenclature that tends to be followed by retail, audible, entertainment teams, blah, 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 where if the job is an X manager, it's an L5. I'll use marketing because I'm a marketer. So it's a marketing manager, product manager, vendor manager, brand manager. Oh no, brand managers are 4s. That's a separate one. But if it's something manager, it's usually a 5. If it's a senior something manager, so senior marketing manager, it's an L6. If it's a senior manager marketing, note the difference. Senior marketing manager, L6, senior manager marketing, swapping around those two words. Senior manager marketing, that's an L7. Principal marketing would also be an L7. So that's kind of the standard nomenclature. However, once you get into AWS, sales roles, also, software development, engineer roles, it's much, much harder to work out. So unless your job title fits that nomenclature, the only other things that you can take a guess at is the number of years of experience that the job description requires. Anything kind of between 5 and 8. Again, this is finger in the air, right? This isn't exact. Anywhere between 5 and 8, I would expect to be an L5. Anywhere from 8 up to about 15, I would expect to be a L6. And then 15 plus, I would expect to be an L7. The next thing you can do is just ask your recruiter. Just ask them what level the role is. They may tell you. I hope they would tell you. I can't see any reason why they wouldn't tell you, because that just seems petulant. There's no good reason not to tell you what level the role is. So I would suggest you ask. Oh, you've just put it there. I wish I'd looked at that. Senior financial analyst is an L6. That would have saved a lot of time, wouldn't it? Duh. All right, moving on. Jonathan, I assume you're referring to the like the stream. Yes, it is both entertaining and disturbing. I have a far more disturbing one actually, but I chose not to show that one. Okay, what else do we have? Sorry, I'll take you back out there, Jonathan. Thank you. All right, we only got 2 minutes left, so I'm going to try and do one more, and then I will give you the best freebie for Amazon interviewing. I'm convinced it's the best freebie out there for Amazon interviewing. Okay. Oh, okay, this is interesting. So some doot. Okay, so you're for a dev. Okay, recruiter called you to say that they're happy with the leadership principles. Cool, but they want to consider you for a different role. Okay, but you're an SDE, so what type of different role is it? Do I think it's a soft rejection? Does it mean that there is actual hope follow-up for a data science, research science, as they suggested? Interesting. Okay, it's not a soft landing. Amazon recruiters don't do platitudes. It's just a waste of everybody's time. If they don't think you're any good, they'll tell you that you're a no recycle and you need to wait 6, 12, 24 months. If they say, we think you could possibly be another Amazonian, you need to apply again, then again, they genuinely mean it. The question is, you said they want to consider you for a different role, which is a bit different from please go away and apply if you want to. It sounds like what they're saying is something much more proactive. We really like you. We think you could fit a different job family. We want to consider you for other roles. So the question in my mind is your recruiter actually out there looking for other roles for you? That would be good to know. And the second thing is, are you actively out there applying for different roles? Because if they've suggested we think that data scientist or research scientist is a better role for you, then you should be out there applying directly yourself to data science and research science roles. So is there platitude? Absolutely no way. Is there a possibility that having given this feedback that you might well land yourself a data science or a research science role? Yes, it's absolutely a positive possibility. Is it a probability? Couldn't say. Is it highly probable? Well, no, nothing's highly probable when it comes to the Amazon interview process, but certainly a possibility. So I would take it all as positive and find out, is your recruiter proactively looking for you, and whether they are or whether they aren't, you should be proactively applying yourself for data science and research science roles. Good luck. I hope it works out for you. Okay, so I think that is, oh, I've got one more that I just can't resist. Yay! Day one careers candidate, exciting. You got an L6 offer for AWS for a nice sales role. Yes, Dishmi, well done. Congratulations. I'm so delighted for you. Sales ones are really hard. I read sales roles, job descriptions really regularly in my job description deep dives, and they're always really high level. So the fact that you kind of managed to work out what the key LPs were and smash it and get your offer is incredible. I'm so delighted for you. Congratulations. Oh, I'm going to quickly do this one for Marlene, who we spoke to a little bit earlier. Should you reschedule your interview if you feel unprepared overall? All right. So Yevgeny, and my advice, I mean, you said it's tomorrow, so it's not going to be great if you phone today and say, I don't want to do it tomorrow. It's quite late notice. That said, if you genuinely feel that you are not prepared and you want more time, our guidance would be, it's probably worth taking it on the chin and giving them 24 hours notice and saying, actually, I'm not ready. Could we reschedule for a week or whatever it is? Our guidance would be, it's better to do that if you really don't feel you're prepared than go into an interview knowing full well that you aren't prepared and then getting a rejection. Better to postpone it than to go in knowing that you're probably going to get rejected, and then it's a self-fulfilling prophecy anyway. So no hard data here for you, Marlene, in terms of what the outcomes are for people who do postpone their interviews, simply in terms of our guidance, in terms of better to avoid a rejection if you believe a rejection is very probable than to just end up with a black mark on your higher background. Hope that makes sense. Okay, so what I'm going to do for you all now is to give you the best freebie available for Amazon interviewing on the web. please go to this URL, day1.careers/Amazon interview -whiz. You'll find this URL literally everywhere on the YouTube channel as well. That gives you access to our free taster course, Customer Obsession. It's a course all about the customer obsession leadership principle. It talks you through the 4 facets of customer obsession. I better lean this way. This is a disaster. So the facets of customer obsession, it's a learning model that we created at Day One Careers, totally created by us. If anyone else is using it, it's because they stole it from us. It's not an Amazon thing, but it's a way that we have worked out. You can deconstruct the leadership principles and make them kind of understandable in terms of their complexity. So it talks you through the 4 for customer obsession. It tells you pretty much what the interviewer is looking for in your answer for customer obsession. It's a really, really, really useful guide for what you should be including in your answer. And then finally, there's a mock interview, a mock interview, me interviewing me. You would never know it was the same person. I look so different, but showing you how it all kind of comes together in a actual interview. So go take that, totally free. And as I said, it gives you access to our Discord community so that you can make friends, get together with other candidates, do mock interviews, ask questions, lean on other people and all of their advice and their experience. We also have some alumni, people who have successfully got into Amazon through Day One Careers on there as well, so they can also offer you advice. So it's worth taking even if you never use the course and you just use that community. Okay, numbers are dropping away. I'm going to go and have my evening meal. Thank you so much for joining, and thank you for all of your questions. For those of you who managed to get jobs, congratulations. So proud of you. If you have interviews coming up, fingers crossed. And don't forget to please like every video that you watch or drop me a little comment. I will always comment back. Take care, everyone. Be safe, and I'll see you next week with Yevgeny. Bye.